Okay, what's the greatest video game of all time in your estimation?
I'll have to say the Dead Space 3 series by EA.
Uriah?
I would say Tekken.
Tekken.
Tekken Tag.
Tekken Tag?
Tekken Tag.
Okay,
I'm
so
still getting used to it, but I like Dead Space. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, God.
But I'm a big fan of Resident Evil. That's the scariest.
I remember the first time playing Resident Evil. I think it was the Resident Evil 2. It scared the shit out of me.
When that liquor came out, I dropped my controller. You don't know what a liquor is.
Nice.
It's this really scary thing that bites you.
Yeah, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? This is Champ Creed. We're here at the Sirius XM studios. Right now we have here Demetrious Johnson, Uriah Hall, and Miss Karyn Bryant. You may know these guys from UFC and also dropping controls in the middle of the night while playing Resident Evil. So basically, I mean, we got you guys in here. It's Monday morning. There was a absolutely phenomenal UFC card that went on this week, and I just want to get any thoughts about the main event, McMahon, Rousey, the co-main event, any of the fights that stood out on the previous fight card that happened this Saturday to you guys?
Oh man, I don't want to say anything, get me in trouble. You know what? I'm a big fan of Ronda and McMahon too. I actually want to see more. It started out great. You know, McMahon looked strong. She was in her face, and Ronda took some punches. Was like, oh yeah, and she kept going. I was like, oh my god, this is a fight. And then that knee happened. I was like, oh man, I just wanted to see more because I thought it'd been great. And when the girls go in there, man, they fight.
Yes.
Us guys, we be like, all right, look what you got. Girls are like, I don't care. And, you know, I hate fighting on the nights the girls fight because they always get the bonuses, you know. They always win. But that was interesting.
How about you, Demetrious?
Ronald looked good, and I would say DC and Pat Cummins. You know, he gave it to Pat Cummins. DC looked great with the weight cut. You know, it almost like he can make 185. You know, obviously he got to stop. He got to stop making a little more eating. But
that's your territory.
I'll push it, bro.
It was a great card overall.
All right, how about you, Karyn?
Well, I actually really enjoyed the Damian Maia Rory McDonald fight because both those guys are really good, and Damian, he owned the first round, and he has some of the best jiu-jitsu on the planet. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, dude, you need to finish now, or it's not going to go well for you. So the whole point of that fight was watching Damian try to get the submission in the first round, because once it came out in the second round, Rory was like, oh hell to the no, and so then Rory turned it on, and then it turned into, I just thought, this great fight. And Damian, bless his heart, has so much tenacity. He just kept going, and you could tell he's losing. He's still trying. He's shooting for takedowns. I mean, they were telegraphed, but dude was trying, and Rory looked really good. I really, that was probably my favorite fight.
I think it was a record 22 takedowns
attempts. Yeah,
and he only got one, I think it was, or something like that. But
well, he got a couple. I mean, that was the thing, is the whole first round was all Damian.
Yeah,
and it was just a question of, like, can he sink this in or not? Can he get it? Can he get it? But
did a good job. He came back.
Yeah, he did. That was, to me, that was a fun fight. And obviously, like he said, when the women fight, I obviously, as a woman, I get into those fights a little bit more. That's the vicarious living for me. I get to really see, and I've seen these women there. They're badasses, and it's really inspiring.
And I think at this point, what the fight world would like to see is Ronda have it's not like she hasn't been challenged, because indeed she's been challenged, but there's one name that's been swirling about, and that's a match against Cyborg. There are a couple of hurdles that have to be overcome before that happens, but in the meantime, do you think that it's a situation where there's talent out there that has to be brought into the UFC to challenge Ronda, not to put the focus on her, or is a situation where the fighters that they have currently on the roster, there's someone there that could kind of like shake her dominance a little bit?
I would say Kat Zagano. I mean, I think Kat Zagano has all the tools to give Ronda a run for her money. She's a big girl. She's strong. She has great wrestling. And I think the people are, that's going to give Ronda problems is that she has legit Muay Thai. And at the end of the day, I felt, I had a conversation earlier today that, when Sarah McMahon went out there and fought Ronda, she got away with what she was good at, because she's a wrestler, and she should have wrestled Ronda instead of trying to stand up with her and, knees and all that stuff. But I think Kat Zagano is, the girl to give her, a run for her money, just because she's legit.
How do you feel? You right?
Oh, man, I have to kind of go back to Sarah McMahon, man. That it's just, I felt like it wasn't enough. And maybe if Sarah had one more fight or whatever, some people were saying maybe she wasn't ready. I just think she has the tools to compete at that level with Ronda. But again, Kat Zingano too. She's awesome. I seen her last fight. She goes out and bang. I think she has a really good ground game as well. So with that on her stand up, that should be.
I can see that you feel a certain way about the premature stoppage. Some people online and in the fight community say the fight was stopped prematurely. But I looked at the fight earlier, and I think it was the Mike Powell fight where it seems like it went a little bit too long. Have you ever been in a fight where you felt that the referee may have second-guessed himself and kept things going a little bit too longer, or versus, him calling it a bit short? Have you ever been in that situation?
I don't think so. I think the fight that I had against the current champ right now, Chris Weidman, at the time,
Ring of Combat. 2010.
There you go.
I was there. I was there. Continue.
I hope you didn't lose any money. All right. So, Chris was the better man that night. At the given time, it felt like 15 seconds, but I watched it on tape. It was going on for a while. I was like, man, I was getting beat for a while. So I give it to the judges, the refs. They know what they're doing. They're very experienced, especially Herb Dean, man. He's been around for a long time, and Herb Dean's, I think, one of the best refs in the sport. So I have to give it to them and say they did a good job. Me personally, I just wanted to see a little more because I was so excited about it.
Well, plus too, a lot of time, and I agree with it. The Sarah one was a little tricky because she was starting to come back up and stand up, but afterwards, she didn't blame Herb. She said that's cool. It was my bad for not getting up sooner. But their job is also to protect him and let him live to fight another day.
Indeed.
So I'd rather they err on the side of protecting these guys.
Yeah, exactly. And if you go back and you look at in mixed martial arts, if you look at when Donald Cerrone fought Anthony Pettis and he got kicked in the liver, obviously he could have got back and kept on fighting, but once you get kicked in the liver or hit in the liver, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Shuts everything
Give me 5
down.
minutes, I'll be right back. But and that's you look at the Sarah McMahon fight on this Saturday, she got hit in the liver and you see her face wince and she goes down on a hand, and there's literally a point where it's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, where she's like.
Well, in that case, was the inevitable just postponed? If you gave her another couple of seconds, how many more shots would Ronda have landed?
Exactly.
It could have been even really more devastating.
Exactly. And like she said, we got to live to fight another day.
Yeah.
And she'll get her chance again.
I think the fans love a comeback, and I think one of the biggest comebacks that I could think of when I thought the guy was totally out, when Brock Lesnar fought Shane Carwin.
Yeah.
I thought that fight was done. I thought they actually let it go a little bit too long, but then he came back and won. And I say that there has to be some kind of buffer in between the fans' understanding of what goes on versus what you guys know to be, because fans, they just think that, okay, this guy got hit, you can get back up, but it's totally different. What's the hardest you've been hit? And if you want to tell us who it was that delivered the blow, you can. If not, you can keep it to yourself. What's the hardest that you've been hit to your recollection?
Hell no, I ain't telling you. Man, I would say I was probably in training. It's probably in training by one of my good friends. He knows this. Jarrell King Kong Miller, man. That dude hit me so, and he's a heavyweight too. And I like going with the big guys. I like challenge myself. But that dude hit me so hard, I literally felt my body came out and looked at me like, oh snap, and came back in. Like it was that dramatic.
He knocked your soul out the frame for a
And
little bit.
like, some guys I see, they get hit hard, they're like, I'm still good. I was like, I'm good. And I remember like floating off, but I felt like part of my brain literally moved.
Wait, Jarrell's a big boy. Like, when was this? This was
probably like 5 months ago.
Oh,
We were training.
you're a tough dude. How about you, DJ?
I had to say for me,
Last time when I punched you for
Yeah.
For me, I had to say one of my old coaches, Trevor Jackson. He is bigger than me. He never wanted to fight. He had all the talent in the world to be a world champion. He had no desire to fight. But he was just as fast as I was, if not faster. And he hit me, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm pretty sure I could have died right there.
So
I'm glad I didn't.
How do those blows that you take in sparring, because from my brief experience as an amateur, I understand that some of the hardest fights that you'll have will be in sparring with your partners, with your camp. Do you think it's a situation where sometimes guys can go a little bit too hard, and that may be a reason why there are a lot of injuries that occur that kind of like shake up some of the fight cards that you guys have been on?
Well, if you ask Brian Stan about it, yes. I mean, he thinks guys, you know, that your chin has a limited time, and that the guys that are in there banging in practice and are like, you know, don't train with headgear or this or that. He thinks that they're diminishing, you know, actually diminishing their fight time. Some guys think, oh, I'm gonna toughen my chin up, I'm gonna stick it, you know, and I'll get tagged. It doesn't get tougher; it gets weaker.
Yeah.
And so, I don't go in there and fight professionally, but I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I know for sure, Brian Stan is a big proponent of you know what? Let me save my chin for the actual fight. Don't hit me in practice.
I agree.
Yeah.
My coach said the same thing too, because I used to hate wearing headgear and I felt uncomfortable with my peripheral, and he's like, you know, son, this is we ain't gonna be doing this forever. And I'm like, all right, you're right. And you know, for me, sometimes I go to gym. I love to compete. You know, I love to go with different styles. Me personally, as a martial artist, I want to grow, and I have this thing. I always go light, and I think you can agree with me too. I'll go light until you hit me hard. I'm like, all right, it's a fight, and I'll step it up. But I don't go in there to try to kill someone. But most of the time, people are like, oh, it's Uriah Hall. Let me try that. I'm like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah, and for me, I don't wear like. I tell people like I can spar maybe 3 times hard in my whole entire camp in 8 weeks, and just make sure my body's in shape, make sure my technique's good, and make sure I'm on point with all my striking. And I'll get in an octagon and I'll go ham. And like I'm just a big believer that, you know, there's no reason to go hard because, like you said, your chin has a time, and you see guys who've been dropped in fights or guys who spar hard in the gym, and when they wear headgear, I think like it's a false sense of security. Like, oh, I have this headgear on, it means I can take these shots, but it almost neglects like, oh, well, I don't have to move my head because I have this big piece of, you know, thing on my head. Where I think if you take it off, it's like, okay, I'm gonna get hit in the head. I need to use good head movement. It forces people to move their head and respect the game of fighting, where it's like I can get hit. So I think, you know, people wearing headgear, it hurts them. Whereas people who don't wear headgear, I think it actually doing them a benefit, where it's like, okay, I understand how to move my head, use footwork, and etc.
Okay, we have to wrap this up a little bit for the simple fact that I know you guys on a strict schedule. We're coming to the close of Black History Month, and we understand that you guys are doing a lot of community outreach work. You're going to different centers across the country. I want to know from you, Uriah, who in your life has influenced you in terms of an African-American historical figure?
I would say Bob Marley, and not because I'm Jamaican. But, you know, as I get older in my career and myself, you know, I look at a lot of positive things, and he's definitely been a true icon in the world. And there's many others too, but, you know, one of the biggest things that he's known for is uplifting and trying to change the world and making it a better place. And with martial arts, I know, or the UFC, a lot of people don't accept that. And, you know, especially with me, they're like, oh, man, you're too nice to be in the UFC. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That means I'm a human being, you know. I knock someone out and I get a little emotional because I don't like to hurt people. But at the same time, I enjoy the idea of competing. And, you know, that's what I look forward to. And I just want to change certain people's outlook on it as, oh, it's a brutal sport, it's a blood sport, it's a cockfight. That, you know, we're human beings too. And we were having this conversation earlier about him. He's saying, hey, man, I'm a dad, you know, I'm a husband, and, you know, I do all these other things. I have a regular life. So it's not just my life. But he's definitely made a great impact. And hopefully I can do the same in that regimen.
And you, DJ?
Yeah, you know, I don't have a very specific one. You know, I look at all of them, like Martin Luther King, you know, Malcolm X, all of the things that, you know, people have done, you know, Rosa Parks, and I look at all of the hardship they've gone through in their whole entire life and able to make it into a positive thing and to see people grow. And, you know, for me, it's almost all of them.
And Miss Bryant?
Well, I have to say, you know, it's interesting. There's not a lot of women that cover this sport. There's no other black women that cover this sport.
You know,
right. You are breaking ground.
Can I change my answer?
I had this
Let's edit what I just said, bro.
Yeah, with John Jones one time, I asked him, I said, hey, we were talking about something, and I said, hey, do you ever, like when you're up there on the dais, I said, do you ever look around and see who's out there covering the sport? And he sort of like, yeah, kind of a little. I'm like, yeah, how much of this do you see out there? And he was like, just you. I was like, yeah. So it's interesting. I know there's a couple every now and then, you know, kind of mixed in. So I have to say, you know, I not like Oprah Winfrey is my hero or anything, but I have to admit what she's achieved is amazing, and I would love to do that. But I think there's just any kind of woman who's been in a position where she wasn't supposed to be and she kind of made her own way. To me, that's always inspiring. Not necessarily, they don't necessarily have to be an African American woman who's done it, but I just think in general, people who go against the grain and are doing something unexpected, that fires me up.
So
All right.
everyone everyone I just said and Karen.
And
Karen.
I will say Bob Marley too, because I had actually Bob Marley playing in the delivery room when I had my daughter. That was the first music that she ever heard, because he's also one of my all-time favorites. I'm half Jamaican, and that is like to me the greatest. So the first music she ever heard was Bob Marley.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I
How
saw that.
special. All right, folks. This is the SiriusXM version of Friday Night at the Fights, and we also have our show on Monday tonight at 5 p.m. We have Uriah Hall in the studio, Demetrious Johnson, and Karyn Bryant. And thank you guys for listening. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Stay black.
I love it. Stay black.
With a
As
Q
if
U
there's a
E,
choice.
not a K.